From Science News, new species of Neornithischian dinosaur discovered in China. Paleontologists have discovered what they say is a new species of early diverging Neornithischian dinosaur that was part of the Jurassic Yinliu biota in northern China. Well, this looks pretty good. This is a very well preserved Neornithischian skeleton of Puleosaurus, Kinlong, named Puelosaurus King the newly identified dinosaur species lived in what is now China during the Jurassic period, around 160 million years ago. Guessing this is probably coming from the Tusharon Formation of China, which dates to somewhere between like 153 to 167 million years ago during the um, mid Jurassic. The ancient reptile was part of the so-called Yanle what? That's not a reptile. It's descendant of Archosauromorphae, which are distinct reptiles, but this itself is not a reptile. This would be a warm-blooded, I'm wondering if even feathered individual. Was part of the so-called Yanleo biota, a middle to late Jurassic aged ecosystem that included dinosaurs, mammals, amphibians, insects, and lizards, as well as plants. I will say though, the Tinshuan formation does not have really any large species of dinosaurs, but has a variety of different unique smaller species, many of which were carnivorous. There have been a few different species of mammals found in the area, especially the Dacodontan lineage of mammals. Amphibians, I think around 8 different species of salamander have been discovered here. When it comes to insects and lizards, I'm not so sure about that, but there has been a large variety of plants. And it sounds kind of amusing when somebody's quite excited about a wider range of plants have been discovered in these different fossil formations, but it tells us a very large amount about how the ecosystem would have looked back then, and then the different ecology of the landscape, especially how the different animals, especially the herbivores, would have come into contact with these plants. The Yanlua biota is one of the most significant Mesozoic terrestrial lagerstätte in China, with an age that ranges from 168 to 157 million years. I think it goes back further, like to 153 million years ago, and is comprised of fossil assemblages from the Hu Longshan and the Taoshan, there you go, formations. It said senior author Dr. Xing Xu. In total, there have been 54 genera and 58 species of vertebrates and reported from the Yanloi biota, including 9 species of non-avian dinosaurs. Oh, there have also been like over, I think, 20 different species of pterosaur that have been discovered here. Here, let's take a look. So here is another species of heterodontosaur. So it's very possible that what the Puleosaurus is also a heterodontosaur. But that's just my guess. They're just putting it in a wastebasket. Technically, the heterodontosaurs are part of, or they're a subfamily of Neornithischia dinosaurs. So Tianyu Long was somewhere around 11 feet in length and might have weighed somewhere around 2 to 300 pounds. There is evidence for Taiwan Long to have um, evolved feathers, but not have, or it's a bit of a debate as to how those feathers might have been displayed as well as the color. Now, like many species of Heterodontosaurus, you can notice these distinct canines um, on these herbivores. So it's a bit of a question as to whether or not these animals might have been omnivorous. It's very possible they might have been feeding on a wide range of plants, but also going after even possibly certain small species of mammals at this time, like the Decodontans. Let's see. So we also have the members of the Neornithidae lineage of pterosaurs, but more specifically, Brachiognathidae. No, sorry, Brachiognathidae. This is Cynomicrops. This is a small pterosaur. Pterosaurs did not become very large in the Jurassic, definitely not in the Triassic. This individual had a wingspan of maybe around um, what's what is it, 30 centimeters or a little over 12 inches, and probably only weighed a few ounces. This was a very small pterosaur. Cynomacrops probably feeding on a wide variety of insects. And unlike what it shows in different dinosaur documentaries, these animals did not have the ability to perch on dinosaurs and feed off of the insects. So, kind of like with what you see with oxpeckers, or even, or oxpeckers in Africa, little birds that hop onto like water buffalo rhinos, or even in different parts of the United States or North America, and you'll see egrets on bison. They did not have the ability to hang on to a sauropod or a member of the ornithopod lineage like that. So they would mainly just stuck to like tree branches and fed off the insects in those areas. This, however, is not an agnornithed. This is a member of the Rhamphorhynchidae lineage of pterosaurs, which is also where pterodactyl derives from, not pteranodon. Pteranodon is a member of the pteranodonted family, which existed during, well, there were pteranodontids during the late Jurassic too, but they were much more common during the Cretaceous period, and Pteranodon wouldn't evolve until the late Cretaceous, specifically Campanian stage, somewhere around 80 million years ago over in Alberta, Canada, whereas pterodactyl was over in France and Germany, somewhere around 165 to 170 million years ago. And Pteranodon had a 20-foot long wingspan, whereas Pterodactylus was maybe 2 feet, probably only weighed some around 6 ounces to a pound. This is specifically Hinchagnathus, which, like many of the rhamphorhynchids, like Pterodactylus, as well as, well, okay, Pterodactylus had a very thin, long and thin, narrow jaw, whereas this animal is actually a relatively robust jaw structure compared to much of the rhamphorhynchid lineage. This animal might have had a wingspan of somewhere around 18 to 20 inches, probably weighed shortly or just over a pound, and probably fed on a wide variety of fish. This animal also, like many of the Rhamphorhynchids, was a very good swimmer, especially Rhamphorhynchus, the species itself. There have been different morphological studies and locomotion studies on the animal that indicate it was one of the best swimmers of the pterosaur lineage. It does look like, though, in general, a pterosaur, pretty much all pterosaurs could swim, just some were better at others. And it's possible some might have even dived for their food. So here is a picture of the skeleton of Hinchagnathus. This is a very well preserved skeleton. You can see the distinct jaw structure, as well as the very well preserved conical teeth and even the limbs. Um, Wonder if even some of the skin's preserved. So these, or at least when it comes to pterosaurs in general, their bones would have been very porous, which means there would have been all these holes throughout the bones that would have made them lightweight. So that's why pterosaurs didn't reach much more than 500 pounds. Forgot we were at the. Oh no, I scanned up for the name of the species. So where were we? Okay. In total, there have been 54 genre and 58 species of vertebrates reported from the Yenleo biota, including 9 species of non-avian dinosaurs. I think there's more than that, because what it's talking about is like members of the Scanciraptoridae lineage, possibly Microraptorans, and somebody else not hitting me. Because the Yenlua biota preserves large amounts of vertebrate material from many species, it offers insight to major paleobiological events such as the temporal origin of birds and the early evolution of mammals. So, probably distant relatives of, when referring to the temporal origin of birds, relatives of the Archaeopteryx, which is possibly the predecessor of modern day birds. However, non-avian dinosaurs found in the Yanlua biota are all small-bodied theropods, whereas Ornithischia is represented by only one species, which may be possible from the Jehol biota. This is in stark contrast to other contemporaneous Chinese terrestrial fauna, such as the Shishugu and Shaximao Faunas where body size and taxonomic composition are more variable. Oh, mentioning the Jehol biota, there's actually a species of ornithopod related to Tenuolong, probably found in the adjacent formation to the Tenashuran formation called J. helosaurus, which I believe was somewhere around 7 to 8 feet in length. Is also one of the largest, um, ornithopods have been found in the region. And then there's the large carnivore, Sinraptor, which I believe was I think possibly a member of the Metriacanthosaurid lineage of dinosaurs. And we're talking about a carnivore that was around 20 feet in length. So for some reason in the Tenshuran formation, there are small animals being discovered, but not really any large ones. This is a member of the Dichrododont lineage of mammals. So this is Microdocodon, which existed somewhere between 158 to 160 million years ago in China. Its ancestors, so the original Dichrodonts, first existed at the beginning of the Jurassic around 201 million years ago. They would end up going extinct towards the end of the early Cretaceous, around 113 million years ago. They did evolve. They're basically advanced cynodonts. So these are lineages of mammals that derived from proto-mammals back in the Permian around 260 million years ago, with the more famous individual called Cynognathes. And these little individuals just probably preyed on a wide variety of insects. Um, so a proto-mammal is basically the early stages of mammals, originating with animals such as the sailback Dimetrodon, which many tend to confuse with a pure reptile or even a dinosaur. And it is very distantly related to both, despite how you could say reptilian it looks. And so here's just a skeleton of Dicro uh, Diprocod Dicropodon. This is very well preserved, and yes, this animal probably only weighed a couple of ounces at most. And then there is the Scanceropteryx from this time. So there have been a wide variety of Scanceroptidae that have been discovered here. They had a behavior probably very similar to today's eyes, which have an extended third finger that allows them to pierce through the bark and extract the essential grubs that they feed on in different species of trees on the island of Madagascar. So these animals over in China, this isn't the only species to do this. There was also the more famous Epidozipteryx, which exists in this area, has also been found in this formation that would have had probably a very similar lifestyle. This animal was probably about 8 to 13 inches in length and also probably only weighed a few ounces. Most likely, unlike the Microraptorans, which are related to this group, they did not really possess much of a feather like display structure. So they were probably just covered in a slight layer of short feathers or plumage, you could say. So this is the Dimetrodon that I mentioned that is one of the early predecessors to modern mammals. Um, it's a bit of debate as to whether or not Dimetrodon could have been the predecessor, like or direct ancestor, or it's just simply an early uncle. For some might even just say early cousin. This animal was somewhere around 15 to 20 feet in length and could reach somewhere around 5 to 600 pounds and preyed on a wide variety of different species of amphibians. One's referred to as the boomerang amphibian, the Diplocolus. So this was over in northern Texas, somewhere around 290 million years ago during the early Permian. It is a bit of a question as to what this elongated sail, kind of like with what we see in different species of Spinosaur. And despite this animal having a very elongated back vertebra, which these different rows of the Dimetrodon sail are distinct vertebra. These are also probably real specimens of yeah, even the tail vertebra. The skull might be a replica. but much of this seems quite authentic. Um, Also, it's probably a relatively slow runner. I mean, looking at these ankle bones, this is not very good. Longer shin bone, though, it looks like, than the thigh bone. But anyway, this animal would have hunted the wetlands of Texas during the early Permian, also fed on close relatives, like possibly the plant eating Adaphosaurus at this time, despite the animal being quite closely related to Dimetrodon. And there were other different species. But anyway, let's go back to the Jurassic. Let's see. So, Pulausaurus kinlong belongs to Neornithischians, a group of dinosaurs within the order Ornithischia, first established in 1985. Oh, I forgot it was only that long ago that Neorthischians, was that when it was originated? Hmm. Had a thicker layer of asymmetrical enamel on the inside of their lower teeth. Neornithischia is a significant group of dinosaurs whose earliest origin may be dated back to the Middle Jurassic, represented by several early diverging species, such as, or including Sanxiosaurus, Ankylosaurus, Hexalosaurus, found in China, paleontologist said. Yeah, there have been a wide variety of different species of even Heterodontosaur that have been discovered in China, not just broadly Neornithischia. So Heterodontosaurs are a subfamily of the Neornithischia. There are also a couple of other distinct subfamilies. Besides China, there have been reports of Neornithischian fossils from the Middle Jurassic of Eastern Europe, Scotland, and layers from other geological times and countries. Neornithischia diverges rapidly into a number of species in the Cretaceous period. The well preserved specimen of Pulaosaurus kunlong was found in the Tuashan Formation of King Long in China's Hebei province. The fossil is comprised of a nearly complete skeleton prepared on a brownish red sandstone slab. The specimen preserves most of the skull and a complete postcranial skeleton. According to the scientists, Pulaosaurus kinlong was a small bodied Neorthischian. Um, oh, yeah, they haven't mentioned the size of this animal. I wonder if he's longer than Ting Long. The total length of this specimen is approximately 72.2 centimeters. So that's like what, 4 feet? The length from the rostral end of the skull to the caudal end of the last preserved caudal vertebrate, while its skull length is about 8 centimeters. Hmm. So it's like what, uh, 4 inches? I don't know. The discovery of the new species sheds new light on the biodiversity of Yanlua biota and the phylogeny of early diverging Neornithischians. A phylogenetic analysis places Pulaosaurus kinlong at the base of Neornithischia, close to Agilosaurus. That's really interesting. Probably because it's one of the earliest Neornithischians, which is the earliest diverging Neornithischian. Oh, right, Agilosaurus. That wasn't hitting me. New species represents the first Neornithischian found in the Yalmo biota. Okay. Oh, a pair of arytenoids are preserved in the Pulosaurus kinlong holotype. It represents the second case of an ossified laryngeal apparatus among non-avian dinosaurs. Interesting. The arytenoids of Pulosaurus kinlong indicates that ossified laryngeal apparatuses were present in Neornithischia, thus suggesting that the ossified laryngeal apparatus could be widespread across Dinosauria. As the morphology of Palosaurus kinlong arytenoids resembles the arytenoids of extant birds, it is possible for the new species to have an avian like vocalization. Yeah, it always has been, or at least for a while now, um, that like different species of smaller ornithopods would have something like a dove sort of communication system. Whereas once you travel further into the Cretaceous period and the much larger ornithischians or even different types of ornithopods like the iguanodontids or hadrosaurs, some might have even sounded like some sort of a deep trumpet or something mixed with like a piano and like a violin and a trumpet at the same time. It's amazing how these different vocalizations evolved. Okay, well, let me know what your favorite Chinese dinosaur is in the comments. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guy Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. And if you love talking about animals, share this show with everyone you know because nothing is better than all animals all the time.